All right, it's been quite a while since we posted any video or any kind of short because we've been busy. Life's getting busier and busier as we get older instead of slowing down. So we wanted to do a video on all of the vehicles that are here at 70 Yards Tiny Farms and More, because that is also part of our channel. It's not only the animals and the gardening and stuff that we do, it's also restoration projects and just general work on vehicles, tractors, and whatnot for the future. So a little history on these vehicles here. This 55 Chevy behind me, I bought probably, it's been close to 30 years ago. I think it was 1993 I purchased it. And I bought it off of an older gentleman who was retired, and he was going to fix it up with his son. And his son never had interest in it. So I went by and looked at it. I went over there twice, and both times that I went over there, the older retired guy, he was drunk, pretty much. So they had started work on it. Their only window that was in it was the rear window. It had a set of ugly high back bucket seats in it. They had filled all the holes for the chrome in the whole car, which is not my style. So I purchased the car. I went over to pick it up, and it was a running, driving car. It had the original 265 in it, an aluminum case, Muncie 4-speed, and it was actually drivable. No taillights, no headlights. Like I said, just the rear window. No door handles, no side glass. So when I went to pick it up alongside their house, I seen the bench seat that was for it, and I knew what they're worth, and I knew that I wanted the bench seat for it. So I asked him about it, and he said it's not to that car, but the upholstery on the bench seat was the same material and color as the back seat that was in it. So he said, I'll throw that in with it. And I said, that's fine. So I got a friend to take me over there. And I drove the car home probably about 8 miles. And I told my friend, stay up on me. Do not let any cars in behind me, or especially any cop cars in behind me, being as I don't have any tail lights or headlights. I was driving the car with numerous violations on it. But at the time I was younger, I did not have a trailer. I didn't have access to a car dolly. I didn't want to go rent a car dolly. The car ran good. So we drove it home. I got it home. Once I got on my street, I actually had to do a little burnout in it. And I started working on this car. I built a rotisserie for the body. I took the frame out from underneath it. It was all clean. It's all been repainted. It's very dirty and dusty now, but everything's new on the front end. The coil springs, the bushings, the ball joints, the shocks, everything's new on it. And I started putting in side motor mounts. It's going to be the first 55 Chevy I've ever had with a big block in it. Then the body went on a rotisserie that I made. It's just a homemade rotisserie, nothing fancy. It worked out very well to do the body work on and to save my back. And it's what I will put it back on when I paint the car. But that vehicle got pushed aside because I got another project that I had started working on, an old Willys pickup truck, which has since been done, sold, and then resold last January at Barrett Jackson in Scottsdale. So that's a little history on that one. This one here is a 34 Plymouth Coupe that I bought. It was just a body and a frame strapped to a metal cart on wheels. The way it sits right now is just stuff that I had sitting around This engine is a 350 that I got out of a wrecking yard. It's a 4-bolt main, something I can rebuild. It smokes, but it runs, and I can pull it in and out of the garage instead of push it. I just put it together with parts that I had, so it was movable. I bought it off of a guy who owned a hot rod shop, and it's just doesn't have that much history because I haven't owned it as long. A few things I went to a wrecking yard and purchased, like the seat. The seat fits perfectly in it. It's out of a I think like a '99 Dodge Caravan, and I think it's the either the second seat or it's the third row seat. But it works very well. If you have grandkids and you want to let the grandkids drive, you could go ahead and let them drive. I don't think their feet would reach the pedals, but at some point in time when the seat is reupholstered, we'll take care of that issue. But that's out of a '99 Dodge Caravan, like I said, and that's why that has those seats in it. But it is a suicide door car, which I did like. I was kind of after, the 32, 33, 34 Ford bodies. I was looking at fiberglass ones, but I actually seen this. I like it. It's all metal. It hasn't been chopped, so it could go either way. It could do a chop or just leave it the way it is. I like it. So it's just another future project. Oh man. You ready? I'm going to voice over this section because the microphone didn't really pick up what I was saying over the engine. And basically, I just put a set of cheap glass packs on it from Jegs, just to get it running. I also had to fabricate clutch linkage for it, which we didn't really show, but it's because I have the old style pedals for the 34 Plymouth tube that go through the floorboard. So therefore I had to make up some of my own clutch linkage to get it to work, as it works a little differently than a set of pedals that hangs underneath the dashboard. And that's just about all we were talking about in that section. This is the 1976 C10. It's a short bed. It's already been lowered. I bought it about 3 years ago. And again, somebody took and welded up all the holes for the chrome in it, which I relocated and drilled out and bought all the chrome. I've done body work to it. Somebody was trying to patina it and do the rust spots. It's just not my style. So I've done most of the body work to it. I've already painted the door jambs. It'll be a two-tone of white in the center, which is what it was from the factory. And then it was a saddle tan, but I'm going with House of Color Planet Green. So this I did body work on, and I did, I'm doing a budget build on this, like if I was a kid that had a 17-year-old kid that had a part-time job. So I did do the interior already, sanded everything inside. I painted the inside just with spray cans, and I had the seat reupholstered. It had a mat in it originally. I put a carpet kit in it. I put some sound deadener in it, and I I redid, just cleaned up the gauges and stuff, and redid the dashboard, and just kind of a nice used dash pad. And the bed's all the body work's been done on the bed of it. It's again, it doesn't have much history. I bought it off of a guy that I used to work with. I didn't know that it was his until I went over there and seen him. So it's something that, again, another future project. So this is the interior that I redid. I had to replace that floor pan in the passenger side because it had a heater core leak, and obviously somebody just let it go too long. It was thoroughly rotted. They had painted everything in here black. Everything was black. They tried to sand through it. I actually just stripped down and repainted the door panels. I repainted a different bezel. It had no dash pad on it. I just bought a decent used one, and I bought this cover off of eBay, which fits really nice. And then everything else has been sanded and painted just with a can. Like I said, it's got a new floor rug in it, and the seat came out of like a newer Chevy truck, like an old body style 90s. Guessing it probably came out of a standard shift because of this, but I actually kind of like that. I had a friend of mine reupholster this, and it has all new rubber weather stripping in it. That's all new. I did purchase all the chrome for it, so once it's painted and two-toned, it'll go back together with new chrome. The engine, it's pretty worn out. It still runs decent. It leaks quite a bit of oil, but again, this is just a cruiser. Somebody has already lowered it, and I actually raised it up just like another inch because it was just a little bit too low. It was rubbing on speed bumps and curves and driveway approaches, things like that. So that's about it for the story on this one. Go. Okay, so this one obviously is a 55 Chevy four-door wagon. Bought it about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. This one I bought off of a guy who was going to put an LS motor in it, and he decided against it. He bought a 66 Nova station wagon that was already done. It's a beautiful car. He's taking it to car shows and stuff. So I purchased this one. He bought it off of someone, a widow down around southern Arizona, somewhere down, I think down around Sierra Vista. And the vehicle had set. My guess is that it was her husband's. The story that I was told was her husband's. And just from me guessing, it looks like somebody actually used this maybe as a daily driver and was drag racing it. Just from the things it has on it. It has a 350 4-bolt main in it. A lot of parts were missing off of it. The intake manifold was gone. No, it was there, but things like radiator was missing, the gas tank was missing. It had makeshift power steering pump off of some kind of a Japanese vehicle. I'm guessing it does have front disc brakes on it that somebody put on it. There's a 12-bolt positive traction rear end in it. There's a Muncie 4-speed in it. And I did find a picture in the car, an old Polaroid picture of it. It wasn't a real good one, but it was a nice looking car when it was actually red. So I ended up again cleaning up the engine, flushing out all of the water jackets, finding a radiator, putting that in it, putting parts on that I had that was just used stuff or stuff that I maybe purchased off of
Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and got it running. And it runs decent. We've taken it around the block. I've got new parts for it that I have not put on it yet. So, but this one, it's in pretty good shape. The 350, it's very dirty and dusty, but it's a decent little vehicle. It's got the Saginaw power steering box on it and a dual reservoir. A lot of the power steering hoses and the brake hoses are just stuff that I made to work for right now, so that the vehicle can be moved and driven. I'm getting too old to push vehicles around, with bad knees and everything. So it's nice to have them driving, and this thing actually works good. It needs a lot of front end work, like some new bushings and ball joints and stuff, which is an easy enough fix, but it is movable now, and it has been on the street. So it's a decent little motor, even though it's a 4-door, it's still a station wagon, and they're holding their value, even though they're 4-doors anymore. So the inside, the interior, you can tell at some point in time it had all been redone. It's all matching. The headliner in it is spotless, so I'm actually going to try to keep that. And right now it's being used as more of a storage unit for some of the parts in the back of it. I put the Trio gauges in it just because when they're running, I like to know, all the vital signs of the engine. I did those big gauges because I like them. You can see them at night real well, and you can see them in the daytime real well. When you get older, your vision starts to go, and it's kind of nice to see things well without glasses. But it's a decent car. The floor pan's rusted. I have the guy that I bought it off of gave me a brand new full floor pan along with the car, so I got a pretty decent deal on it. Again, that was about 3.5 years ago. So these are all just things that are going to be projects
when you retire,
coming up soon. And once I get into full retirement, which is who knows when that'll be. Right now we're busy with animals and doing pens, building pens and raising animals. So I'm hoping to kind of get back on it. Sometimes it's a little hot too to work in the carport. When I get home from work right now during the summer, we've had like 25, 28 days of consecutive heat over 110. Of course, of what the news tells you, but it takes its toll on you when you come out and you try to work on it. The heat draws out your energy real quick. So, especially when the animals come first, basically. Good. All right, so this one we've done maybe a couple of videos of me doing some repairs, some engine repair. This one I got about 2 years ago. This one, I think in the one video I mentioned it, maybe showed you the magazine. It was in a 2014 edition of Street Truck Magazine, and they did an article on it, doing a budget paint job with Sherman Williams Barrett Jackson paints. It was done, like I said, back in 2014. It was kind of let go. It needed quite a bit of work. I had the transmission overhauled back in January. It needed an intake gasket on it, so we did that. We put some other new parts on it. The alternator, I put a new water pump on it. I put the intake gasket on it. And some of the wiring was a mess, so I wanted to fix all that up. It needs quite a bit of other stuff, which it's going to get, but we're really close to getting it started back up now and trying to get it fine-tuned to where it's actually usable and we can use it as a spare vehicle. It's got all new brakes on it, the rotors, the drums, the the brake hardware kits, the wheel cylinders. Quite a bit of new parts on it. It has airbags on the back. They are blown out. I'm not going to replace them. I don't really feel it needs them. It's just an expense that I'm not going to put into it. The stance is not bad at all the way it is. So it'll need a little interior work in time. It's vinyl right now. I'm more of a cloth guy, so sometime in the future, maybe reupholster the seats or see if I can just buy some decent used stuff to put in it and then just sell what's in it. So I have driven this one a little bit. The air conditioning works in it. It's roomy. It's got the rear air conditioner in it also. So it's actually a nice size if you're going to take a group of people anywhere. If you have grandkids like we do, you know, it'll be nice to be able to throw 3 grandkids in it and go somewhere. So this is more of a just around town. I don't think I would take it on any long trips or anything. And it's something that I wanted. We used to have a 99 Tahoe. This is a 98. I liked the room they had in it, and it's a good year for me to work on because I don't really work on the new stuff that has all the computers and the drive-by-wire and stuff like that. I don't get into that. I don't really want to get into that. I like keeping the older stuff going, the simpler stuff, the stuff that's easier to work on. A lot of the new stuff, all the computer stuff, the drive-by-wire stuff, a lot of these vehicles anymore, they're a disposable vehicle. You don't go and buy parts to fix them. If you get in a wreck, the insurance is most likely going to tell you that your car is totaled. So basically it goes to the scrapyard. Maybe it'll get recycled, maybe it won't, but they're just a disposable vehicle. To me, these vehicles I have, they're not disposable. The majority of them are basically a classic, and they're very desirable, especially like in the custom world. So that's the thing of keeping the type of custom world going, the muscle car era going, the old hot rod types. I'm not a rat rod fan, but even that kind of helps keep the sport and the history of it moving along. Okay, so that basically goes through our small piece of property here, and what we have as far as vehicles and parts and things. Like I said, for me, this is it's something that I like to do, and I kind of want to keep things moving on. I mean, pass it down to the grandkids, pass it down to any younger kids. At some point in time, I would like to have maybe once a week, an hour-long class, just here at the house, get parents' permissions of kids of all ages to interact with the animals, with the steers, with the chickens, and interact with these vehicles, do work on these vehicles. If they're interested enough, help me along and learn. Also, the old Kubota tractor we have out back, that would be a learning experience also, just to pass on the mechanical ability. A lot of the skilled technical positions such as auto mechanics and welding, sometimes the industrial arts are going away in a lot of our school systems. I know in junior high, I had woodworking my first year of junior high. We did a small foundry section for about 9 weeks, and then through high school, I had welding all 3 years. I also had sheet metal in high school, just one semester of it. The auto mechanics, this is all stuff that's kind of going away. I've talked to principals before because I've worked for public school districts in the past, and principals say a lot of it would never come back because a lot of it's a liabilities. For instance, wood shop.
takes one instance where a kid pushes his buddy while he's on a table saw and cuts a finger off. So they said it probably will never come back. That's fine. If some of us can do some of this stuff at home and teach kids, pass it along to the kids, and spark their interest. I know a couple of younger kids they're interested in older vehicles. They're interested in older music. They listen to older music. And stuff like that is things that are good to pass along, And one way of doing it is having a class at your house, and another way of doing it is through YouTube. As long as YouTube's letting you do it, I know that we have channels. My wife and I have channels that we follow. We follow some homesteaders, some ranchers. There's car guys that I follow on YouTube religiously, almost nightly. We're looking for their videos. Now, I'm not making content with these vehicles right now because, like I said, beginning of life being busy. Our animals come first now. I'm hoping soon to get back on some of these vehicles, and as we go, I will do probably some short videos and post them. Some of the things you may not be as interested in as others. So you can follow along with the channel, you can watch, and you can pick and choose what you want to watch. If you like the videos, hit the like button, and that tells us what kind of content you guys like. And we would probably go ahead and gear the channel more towards that. Or if we had to break off of one thing and create another channel, a second channel, that's always an option for the future. So again, this is all about learning for kids, for adults, even if they're interested, and it's just a passion of mine that I've worked on cars since I was 16 and had my first car. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. It's more of kind of like a documentary type thing. We don't get into a bunch of drama, which I know attracts people. Maybe later on we can fabricate some like they do on the reality shows, if that's what you guys like. But this is it's more about education and what we do here on our daily basis. So if you like it, subscribe to the channel, and just keep your eyes open for future videos.